Started. First question today is from Ryan Aber, and then we'll go to Eric Bailey. Ryan?
Yeah, Bill, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thank you.
Wanted to start off asking about replacing Creed in the middle of that line, not only what he was able to do there, but also from the leadership perspective. How is that coming along, and how do you feel like those guys are responding to a different group now?
Yeah, it's tough, as good as Creed was as a player, he was probably even a better leader last year. So that's tough, but we've got four guys. Chris Murray is working there. Ian has played there. Nate Anderson, then we brought Conjul in, Robert Conjul. So, right now those guys are doing a good job. I feel pretty good about it. They're all competing, they're playing. It's more the mental aspect. Ian is probably the guy, furthest along mentally, just because he's done it so long here. Obviously, Chris was here last year, but he played guard for us. But, I think they're all coming along. They're all playing pretty well. Chris to me, he's a really good guard, but I do think his best position is center. But now it's just the mental aspects. We ask our centers to do so much stuff. They're the leader, obviously, the offensive line, but the offense, they've got to get everybody going in the right direction. So it's more just studying things, getting to really understand the offense, getting to really understand what the defense is doing. It's a lot different playing guard as opposed to center. So, but I think they're all doing a really good job. I think it's a good competition, and as long as we continue to improve, we'll be fine.
Appreciate it, Bill.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, Eric Bailey, and then Joe Bettner.
Bill, it's good to see you again, man.
Good seeing you guys.
Lincoln mentioned last week.
Looking forward to this for a while.
I bet. Lincoln mentioned last week that the offensive line played well last season, but didn't meet the high standards that have really been set at that position group. What's the biggest factor in just getting back to that level this season?
Mentality. And I think that, just mentality and consistency. And the one thing I will say about these guys, and, hopefully it continues, I see a totally different mentality from individuals and as a group, in just everything you do. I mean, playing this position at this level and at the standards that we have is tough. I mean, it's hard. It really is, and, I'm never truly satisfied. Hell, we won the Joe Moore Award in 2018, and I don't know there was a game I was satisfied. I mean, that's the nature of this position. But I think it's just the mentality and consistency, which I've seen much more of up to this point. You can't come in here. We're so limited by the NCAA and what we can do with these guys, even on a voluntary basis. I mean, they've got to put so much time outside of just when they're here, going through meetings, going through drills, going through practice, weightlifting, all those things. I mean, if they do that, that's the bare minimum that they have to do in order to be an elite, great player. But I think that's what I've seen change. It's showing up on the field. I mean, even like a guy like Tyrese Robinson, I think he's been a good player for us, and knock on wood, hopefully it will continue, which I think it will. And he's reshaped his body some too, which has helped. But today, he's a totally different player than he has been at any point in time. And it's really a mentality. It's a decision that you make. All right, I want to be elite. I want to be the best. You go from being a good player just by to an elite, great player, just by your mentality and how you approach every day. But I think that's the biggest thing, and I've seen it change, and I'm preaching it, and they're getting it, and as long as it continues to evolve and develop, I do think we've got a chance to be a really, really good group.
Bill, thanks a bunch. Have a good week.
Thank you. You too.
Joe Bettner, and then Jason Kersey.
Hey, Bill, I want to ask you about Wanya Morris. I know it's a guy you recruited out of high school, but just that relationship, seeing him in the transfer portal, and getting him to come to Oklahoma, and just kind of if you could speak to how big of an addition that is, getting him to commit to y'all.
Yeah, I think it's huge. I think that's the one thing in recruiting that people don't understand. If you go back and look at it and you play the percentages, most guys, now I know this isn't 100%, but most guys stay close to home. I really think Wanya wanted to come here out of high school. I really truly believe that, and he said that, and his mom has, but it was close to home. I mean, he chose a place that was close to home. But I think it's going to be huge for us. I mean, I recruited him out of high school. He's a guy that I got to go see work out in high school a bunch, practice, work out in the weight room, trust his coaches. He comes from a great program in Georgia, watched all of his games from Tennessee. Obviously, he's a really good player. The one thing I really like is, he asks a lot of questions. You know what I mean? As good as he's played in the past, started, I think, 19 games, started as a true freshman at the place that he came from, has had some success, but he's not resting on what he's done. Everything, how he works, how he approaches it, asks questions, comes up here and meets with me on his own. So I've been impressed with him so far. I think we're going to have some pretty good competition at tackle. I think we're going to have it inside. Obviously, it's got to continue. But, having a quality guy like that that's played at a high level, against some pretty good competition always helps out.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Okay, Jason Kersey and then Kerry Murdoch.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, Jason.
You've said before, I remember you saying this before, that it's not so much about finding the 5 best, most talented players, but about finding the best 5-man unit. And you seem to have a decent number of guys with some versatility position-wise. So how are you handling that right now? Are you experimenting a lot more right now?
Well, we've got a few guys a little nicked up right now that have been missing a couple practices, nothing major, just a couple practices here and there. So that has lent itself a little bit to that. Now, there's a guy like Chris Murray, who hadn't played a lot of center. You know what I mean? He's going to focus on center right now, at least through half of spring and probably the whole spring. Tyrese is playing guard and tackle. Swenson is a guy who can play guard for us. He's focusing on tackle right now. Anton's going to strictly stay at tackle. Marquise, but yeah, ideally you'd like to move guys around a little bit. Some guys are going to play right and left guard, but with the having some guys out, it hadn't allowed us to move guys around a bunch up to this point. But as spring goes on, we'll experiment. It's not going to be a guy's going to play 3 positions. He may play right guard and left guard. Tyrese is playing right guard and right tackle. But some guys are set, and then some guys, will move around just to get the guys out there that are playing the best together.
Thanks, Bill.
You're welcome.
Kerry Murdoch and then John Hoover.
Hey, Bill, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. I wanted to talk to you some more about Chris Murray, just kind of what he went through last year. I mean, everybody was going through all kinds of stuff, with COVID protocols and stuff, but for him to kind of sit there and wait to, get that waiver, was that almost tough for you to watch as a coach, knowing that, everybody's going through so much already and this kid just can't get a waiver?
Yeah, no, it was. And, it's part of it and it stinks. But, the one thing about playing football is it teaches you about life. And that, to me, that's the most important thing that we're doing here. Obviously, we're here to win games, but, hopefully we're teaching these guys about life. And it was an adverse situation, and proud of him. He went and played scout team a lot. You know what I mean? And that's the situation that he was in, never complained. Obviously, I was talking to him and his mom throughout the process. We didn't have a bunch of answers for him, which, is just part of it, and you just continue to hope that they're going to do the right thing. And they eventually did. Obviously set them back some, you know what I mean? Just because, those guys couldn't be here in person until I think we came in, heck, it's so long ago. I want to say late June, last year. So again, just not being around. Obviously, we had all those Zoom meetings which helped, but and then going from we thought he was going to get it, and then obviously he doesn't get it, and then he's got to go to scout team, and it's back and forth, and he comes back. So yeah, it was a tough situation, but the kid handled it really well, and it's showing up right now in what he's doing, how he's playing. He's really, really explosive. He's a physical guy, plays really, really hard. Now for him, it's just learning everything about, the offense and so he can get everybody going in the right direction. But, just like all these guys that went through last year, really proud of these guys and how they handled everything and finished the season. And it's going to help us as a team, and it's going to help these guys later on in life.
Appreciate it, Bill.
Thank you.
Go to John Hoover and then Chandler Engelbrecht.
Hey, Bill. I wonder.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. I wonder if you could expound a little bit on a couple of guys. Stacey Wilkins, the whole dynamic of having him back after taking a year off last year, and then Andrew Rame, a guy who's so versatile, could probably play any of three positions, or I don't know, five. Just want to get your thoughts on those two guys.
Stacey, obviously, everybody has their situation. I mean, he had to get some things ironed out. He's come back right now. Again, he's nursing a little bit of an injury, nothing that's going to keep him out for a long time. When he came back, I think it helped him. I really do. Now, we'll see as things go forward and all that, but he came back more focused. He was probably in a little bit better shape than I anticipated. He's gotten himself into pretty good shape, but just in the walkthroughs that we were allowed to have in the off-season workouts, seems to be more mentally focused. He's got to still grow up and still mature, just like a lot of young guys. But, really, like I've said all along since we recruited him, extremely talented guy. You know what I mean? And now it's just, getting the mind right and putting everything together and eliminating a lot of distractions that you have on the outside. But, if he continues to go in the direction that he has up to this point, he's got a chance, but he's got to keep going in that direction and not have the ups and downs and the inconsistencies. Rame was a guy that, I thought was going to start at some point last year, and had the COVID situation, the contact trace, just had a bunch of things off the field that never really allowed him to gain the consistency to be on the field in a full-time role, and that was just part of last year. It happened to a lot of guys, unfortunately, and the guys that hadn't been here, the inexperienced guys, it hurt the most, so it wasn't like a guy that's been here 3 years and misses a week or 10 days. Well, that doesn't affect them as much as a true freshman that hadn't been here. I mean, those 10 days, they're devastating to a young guy that hadn't been here. But yeah, he's doing a heck of a job right now. He's got to just relax and play. You know what I mean? He's unbelievably talented. We know that. Yes, he can play a bunch of positions. He's really focused on right guard right now, can play left guard. We had him doing some center. He played some right tackle last year in the fall camp. But I think where he's going to, be a player for us is on the interior right now, any of those three positions. But again, just kind of focused on guard. He's snapping, after practice. He hadn't taken a bunch of reps in a team setting at center, but feel good if he had to do that. But, both of those guys, I feel like if they can, Rame's probably further along, but if they continue to improve, continue to evolve, continue to work, they're both going to be really good players.
Good stuff. Appreciate it, Bill.
All right. Thank you.
Hey, Chandler Engelbrecht and then Garen Emig.
Hey, Bill. Thanks for your time today.
Yeah, thank you.
Just curious, after last season or last year, spring ball was taken away from you guys. How did it feel this year to just get back out there and see the guys playing football again?
Oh, great. That's what you do, man. It does get, and it's probably not going to get long for us on a normal year. You get through about 10 practices and everybody's going to be ready for spring ball to get over. I think as we get through 10 practices here this year, we're going to hope we had 20 more. You just realize what you are missing out on when you don't have that spring ball, you don't have that summer, just the development, especially a young, inexperienced player. But it's awesome. The NCAA gave us a couple hours more. I think they went from 8 hours to 10 hours. So we got to do a lot of walkthroughs, which really, really helped. We weren't allowed to do those in the past. So I think that's putting us even further ahead than we would have been had we not had them. But it's, that's what you do this for, to get out there on the field and practice and go hit people, especially playing offensive line. And my job is to get out there and drill them, coach them, get them to the point where they're the best that they can possibly be. So it's been great up to this point, and, excited to keep going and finish the spring strong.
Hey, Garen Emig and then James Hale.
Bill, how the heck are you?
I'm doing great, man. Good to see you. How you doing?
I'm great. Living the dream as always.
Me too.
Yeah, I know. Hey, listen, I wanted to ask you about Creed. He's not a left tackle, right? But he's been such an important, unique player for you guys that I got to think that the NFL sees him maybe outside of the traditional center's box, right? When it comes to a draft situation. Can you comment on that? Does he have a mold he's got to break out of just by position?
Well, that's a great question. If you go back and look at it, and I tell all our guys this, okay, on average, the last 10 years, okay, there's about 6 O-linemen taken in the first round, 5. There's about 11 in the first and second round. So it is hard as heck. I don't care what position you're playing to be a first or second round player. Now, I personally think he's a first round guy. I don't think there's any doubt. Now, does a team need a center? Okay. Do they see him in that mold? I think the guy's going to be an perennial all-pro player for 10 years. I don't have any doubt in my mind. The weird thing I've gotten is he's a left-handed center, which hell, I don't know what that matters. And then he's not very athletic. And I'm, a lot of times I'm like, do you watch film? I mean, we change screens to pull him on screens. We change some of our protections to pull him on protections, So those have been the two things, but heck, I don't even know if I'm answering your question right now,
Yeah.
but I'm kind of all over the place. But yeah, it's going to be what a team needs. Do they need a center? You know what I mean? It's kind of like running back. I mean, how many first round running backs do you see anymore? You know what I mean? Now, I do think it's changing a little bit just because interior D linemen are so good. I mean, hell, you got to block Aaron Donald,
Right.
These guys, JJ Watt moving inside and outside, you got all these, Akeem Hicks. I mean, you just look around the NFL, you better be good on the interior and you better have dudes. So is it changing? I don't know. It hadn't changed much. If you look at it, there's on average 1 or 2 true interior guys taken in the first 2 rounds. To me, if you're an interior guy taken even in the second round, it's like you're a first round pick, I mean, so I think that's what he is. I've relayed that. I've got, a lot of guys that trust me at that level, and we'll see what happens. It's got to be a fit. I know from talking to people, I mean, obviously he's going to blow them away with how smart he is. And now, is he going to fit their scheme? I think he fits any scheme, but that's for them to decide.
Yeah. Very cool. Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, time for 2 more, James Hale and then Brandon Drum.
Hey, it's great to see you, Bill. Hope things are going well.
Hey, all's good, James. Good to see you.
I noticed that you guys have leaned up. It looks like they came in great condition. A lot of guys lost, 5, 10, 15 pounds. You talked about that earlier with Tyrese a little bit, but was that kind of a mandate from you that you said, guys, we're going to lean up a little bit, or how did you approach it?
No, we did. Did you think I leaned up at all, James?
I do. I think you look good, Coach. I think
gained
you look
a lot
good.
of weight, dude. Jeez, I got to start leaning up. But
hey, you look good though.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yes, no doubt. There were some guys, a couple guys that I felt were too heavy. Tyrese was one. Marquise was one. I think Tyrese is fluctuating in that 319 area, I want to say. Marquise is 320 when both of those guys were in the 330s last year. I think it's really, really showing up for them. Anton he's lost some weight. I think he's got to build some back up. He's really changed his body, so he looks good. But yeah, I think there were certain guys that needed to do that and lean up. It's not just totally about weight. It's the weight that you have on you. Like, Bray Walker, he's doing a really good job right now. I mean, he's 360 pounds, 50, whatever it is. And he looks like he's 320. You know what I mean? So it's a matter of, the weight that you have on you, and what's happened now is a lot of these guys have lost some of that bad weight, and now they can start building it, back up from here on out with good weight. So yeah, that was something that we wanted to do, and it's really, really showing up with all these guys.
Thanks, Bill.
No, you're welcome.
Okay, time for 1 more, Brandon Drum.
Hey, Bill, you brought up Anton Harrison and how you said he lost weight and may need to gain some more back, but he had a pretty good freshman year for you guys. He was up and down some, but seemed to get pretty consistent at the end. What do you think his overall growth, or what are you looking for going into his sophomore year or his second freshman year?
I think it's like any offensive lineman. Yeah, I'm not going to get into just specifics, but every offensive line has to improve on everything. Now, the one thing that may not show up, because he was really pretty dang good in pass protection, is just his technique and fundamentals in the run game, which has really, really improved up to this point. He's a big, powerful, athletic, explosive guy, but his footwork was awful last year. And obviously part of that's, my fault. Some of that is the time that he missed. He wasn't here, very long, very early in the summer. He missed some time with being out with the contact and COVID, and all those things. But, I think that's part of it. And just really the overall mentality. The dude can be as good as anybody we've had here. I hate even saying that because who knows what's going to happen, but his talent level is off the charts. I mean, he's special dude. And now it's understanding that, having the right mentality every single day to become the best player. Don't be satisfied with being good or average. You got to be satisfied with being elite, being great, being the best, because that's what you're capable of. Maybe some guys aren't, all right, and it's not going to be as good as you, but you can't be satisfied with just getting the job done. You got to be a dominant guy, and I think he's working towards that, and, we're seeing some signs of growth of that, but it's going to take a little bit of time, but I fully expect him to, be a really good player here starting next season.